away.
Let's roll. So, hello everybody. Welcome to the Curious Entrepreneur podcast, episode 3 of season 2. And I am privileged to present to you the wonderful Andrew and Pete.
Hey everybody.
Welcome.
Whoa, thank you so much for having us. So excited to be here.
Season 2 is looking powerful lineup. So I'm proper grateful to have you. So how would you pitch yourself in 30 seconds? Do you want to start us off, Andrew?
Oh yeah, how would we pitch ourselves? So we are Andrew and Pete. We set up our business when we were 21, fresh out of university, and it's been through various iterations. Right now we run Atomic, which is a membership community for small business owners. We teach them how to scale their business, how to sell without the sleaze. And we also run a conference as well called Atomicon. It's an annual conference, happens every year, teaches small business owners how to sell, how to market themselves, how to grow.
That's a good pitch, like that.
That was banging.
Go, Pete, your turn.
We have a brand called Atomic. It's all about helping the small but mighty, so one-man businesses. And we believe that you can run a hugely successful business that's scalable, which means you don't need to have all these stuffy offices and 10,000 million employees, but you can actually have an amazing quality of life, freedom, and be able to support people because you're making so much money with a scalable business model. And that's what we want to help people do, have that freedom to be able to do that. Hence Atomic, small but mighty.
Nice. Welcome to both of you. Small but mighty.
And we'll come on to that as well.
So before you kick off with the question, I just want to say, so I remember meeting Andrew and Pete at Cambridge Social Media Day 4 years ago.
Yeah, that's going back. I would think even longer.
Was it longer than that?
That was
I can't
like
remember.
2018, maybe 2019.
Yeah, because it was in Cambridge, right?
Yeah.
It was a physical one.
Yeah.
And you blew my. I remember listening to your talk, and I still remember it was I think you were talking about the 90-10 rule. Is that right? That's still a thing that you kind of champion?
Yes, definitely. So the 90-10 rule, we got curious about why people were creating really crap content online versus why people were doing like really remarkable content. And we went down this rabbit hole of what does it actually take to be more remarkable online? Why are people just creating blasé average content? And what we thought at first, it was a problem with creativity. We thought it was that people are not creative or they are creative. And that's where like the original kind of investigation started. Like, what does it mean to be creative? What we actually discovered was that the people that were doing really well with content, they weren't trying to do it all. And I think one big problem people were having when it came to being more creative with their content online was they were spreading themselves so thin because they were looking at people that had a podcast and a YouTube and LinkedIn going and everything was going and everything looked great. And they thought, I should be doing that too. So they tried to do it. And then they just end up doing everything averagely. Where when we actually looked into like the big content success stories, they only did one thing remarkably well first. They like nailed the podcast, or they nailed their Instagram, or they nailed their email marketing. They nailed something, got known for that. And once you're known in one platform, it's much easier to grow the platforms. It's much easier to make money from that platform, so you can like grow a team, so you can actually outsource more of the content, so you can spend more time on other platforms. So like the 90-10 rule, it was essentially spend 90% of your efforts just doing one thing really well. 10% you can faff on, you can experiment, you can be in other places, you can repurpose. But if you really want to grow online, like don't try to do it all, just do one thing remarkably well. And like it's not just content. Like that applies to kind of everything, to sales, to what you're selling. Like if you're trying to do too much stuff, especially as a startup business or a small business, we just don't have the manpower. And it doesn't mean that we can't do remarkable work. We just need to do it in less places.
Love that. So the principle still stands today.
Still use it today. Yeah.
Love that. Well, I remember it from 5 years ago. So you did the right thing. You made the impact.
Nice.
Good.
First brain nugget of the pod already.
Sorry, I've jumped the queue. I'm sorry.
So as always, I'll kick it off with the same question. So what sparked both of your your curiosity to begin the journey that you're on today?
For us, we're just obsessed by getting results for small business owners. We really, really love to just drill down and figure out what the deeper issues are that are holding people back. So, for example, when you're trying to grow your business, it's things like, why aren't people selling? You know, why aren't people spending time on sales? Well, it's not just because they don't like it, but some of the reasons are things like the service isn't scalable. So once you hit capacity, or once you bring on clients, if you're a service-based business owner, for example, like a graphic designer, an accountant, or a photographer, once you get busy, then you just don't prioritize sales anymore. And that's one of the reasons why people go into like the peaks and troughs of businesses, because, you know, as soon as you get busy, you stop doing business development. When that client work dies down, you don't have any leads, so then you have to do a mad scramble for leads again, and then it just goes in these peaks and troughs, which is no good. So it's things like that, and typically speaking, a lot of small business owners don't charge enough, and if you don't charge enough, you have to work longer hours, and if you work longer hours, then you can't do more time on sales. And then you've also got like the argument for like procrastination, because a lot of people don't want to do sales because they're worried about being rejected, putting the face out there, coming across as sleazy, like coming across as arrogant, or making money is sometimes even seen as a bad thing. So then you've got like the mindset issues to deal with, and confidence and self expectations. And so we start to look further than the typical advice out there. So most people, when they're looking to grow the business, or when they're getting advice on YouTube, they'll find these videos like, oh my god, like here's this amazing like strategy that will like 10x your business. And it's like, all right, it's really simple. It's just like send some more emails, right, and ask for the sale. But no amount of amazing digital marketing knowledge is gonna like do the full job for people, because it's only half the battle. So we need to figure out what these other problems are. For example, like people don't schedule the diary. So if you ask any small business owner, like, what you're doing at like 11:45 tomorrow, they might have like a block of time, but they don't know exactly what task they're doing. Most people don't break down their tasks enough. They'll have in the diary like content time, or like social media time, or they'll have sales time, or they'll have things like launch webinar or do SEO. And it's like, that's not a task, because you come to that point in your diary and it's like, well, I can't do that task. I need to break it down. So there's things like planning and organization. There's things like price. Like if you need to charge enough to price yourself so that you can afford to outsource. Most people don't even think about outsourcing, because they think that they can do it better and they're in control and no one else can do what they do. So they tend not to outsource. They tend not to raise the price. People don't have a scalable way of delivering their offering other than typical routes such as a membership or a course. And then we have a thing that we hate in our industry, which is people constantly talk about launching courses and memberships, and for a lot of people it's just not right for them. And so many people fall into the trap of launching a course or a membership, and they've got like 100 email subscribers and it's not growing particularly fast either. And so what do you think will happen when you launch a course? Well, you might sell one, or you might get 5 people to join your membership max. And then after that, what's going to happen? Well, now you've got like a part-time job, which is to manage this membership, keep it updated, fill it with new content, look after your existing customers. Then you've got to improve the customer experience. Then you've got to improve the sales funnel. You have to grow your audience, all in the meantime, where you're making like £100 a month from these 5 members that have joined your low ticket membership. And people think that lower price means easier to sell, but it's not. So Yeah, I'm kind of waffling now, but my point is, it's like
Pete's very curious.
what holds
Pete's
people
curious
back?
about a lot.
Like going a
Short
little
answer.
bit
Too
deeper
long
than
didn't
what
read.
most
Curious
experts
about
do.
a lot.
Yeah,
Like that.
I love that. It started with, how do people sell? Or why isn't that selling? To like that. I love it.
Many hats. What about you, Andrew?
Well, pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Like to go back to the original question, like we've always been obsessed with business. Like both of us from an early age. We met when we were 18. We ran the Entrepreneurs Society at university, and we were just obsessed by like how are people making money, like how are they marketing themselves, like how are they standing out from their industry. Like both of our families have had like a bit of entrepreneurship in them. My dad runs his own business. A lot of Pete's family have run their own business as well. And I think we always, well, I don't know about you, Pete, but I was like, it was always a dream to like be my own boss. I never saw it as a reality going into university. I did an economics degree. Pete did entrepreneurship and management, so I think he was like much further on like the I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I was like, that's cool, but is that totally doable? And then I think when we met, we kind of egged each other on a lot, and we thought, you know what, let's just do it. So 2011, we graduated. I was moving to Newcastle to live with my girlfriend, and I said to Pete, let's just come with me. Like we'll do this together. We'll work it out. So we've never actually had a proper job. So we graduated, set up. That was like 12 years ago now, and yeah, we just made it work messily along the way.
I can just imagine you like going with your girlfriend to Newcastle and Pete like just like third wheeling along the way. I love it.
Yeah. Honestly, we all lived like she was still a student. She was doing a 5-year course. So there was me, my girlfriend, Pete, and another flatmate, the four of us, in this like student flat in Newcastle. Like they were still like student lifestyle. Me and Pete were like, no, we are like setting up our business. We are going to like put on suits and go to networking events because we are business people. And honestly, it was just looking back, I don't know how we like survived because like we made all the mistakes. Like we had no clue what we were doing. We were running a graphic design. Well, we had a few ideas, but ultimately we settled after about 6 months on graphic design, web design. That was kind of like a skill that we had and we could do. And it kind of let us find our feet into like the marketing and business world growth. You know, we were doing like marketing advice on the side. Like, hey, you've got a website. Do you want to like learn how to like get some traffic to that? Do you want to learn like actually what you should put on this website to get people to buy from you? So we kind of like wet our feet in the marketing side as we were building people's websites, designing their logos. Eventually we like stopped doing that, became like a marketing company, and then from there we went on to like the membership and the conference and so forth.
Interesting. Go on.
No, because I'm interested. So Pete, obviously you say there that like you see a lot of the time where people are selling like low cost membership, and that's actually shooting themselves in the foot. So I know from looking into what you do, you're like, you don't like the word. Yeah, but looking at what you do and stuff, like you don't like the word small business. So how did you go from small to mighty?
For us, like Andrew said, we fell into all the traps, and we launched a low ticket membership when we had no audience. This is why we know firsthand why it's such a bad idea, because it almost killed us in terms of stress and anxiety and hard work and effort that we had to put in to get that going. We would have performed way, way better if we'd have just grown our audience and spent our time doing that rather than launching the membership, and instead just focused on increasing our prices. We were too scared to increase our prices. And that would have just made us more money as our audience grew. And then we could have outsourced, built a team and so forth. And eventually one day grown and launched a membership. The thing that makes us mighty, and I'm not self-proclaiming that we are mighty, but this is the ethos behind Atomic, the brand, is the scalable element. So a lot of people, they join they join the world of entrepreneurship because they don't want to get into that rat race of corporate and having a job and having a 9 to 5. And personally, like, I really don't believe in like employment. Like, it's good for some people, of course, but like, I think there's an argument that everyone could be an entrepreneur, if not should be in some ways. And I think that it gives you the ultimate freedom, and it's the ultimate life challenge to kind of fully self-actualize in who you are. And when you can create a scalable business model, it basically means that you can make money in less time, right? That's our definition, make more money in less time. So rather than being like a slave to the time that you spend in your job or in your business, you can kind of create your own boundaries and limits with that. So, you know, the extreme being you don't have to do any work in the business. And the, you know, other end of that is you still work in your business, but you do like just the juicy bits, you know? And this to us really excites us, and I think it's what a lot of people get into business for, because they want the lifestyle, the flexibility. They want to spend more time at home with the kids, but they can't because they're too stressed or they're working too much. So it's go on.
Yeah, and what we're go on. Yeah, I was just gonna say we're not talking about passive income. Like, passive income isn't really a phrase that we like or use, because I think it like perpetuates this myth that you
I hate that phrase.
Okay, good. Yeah, because like we're not. Everything takes time. Like, if you've got a membership, people say like memberships is like the ultimate passive income. Absolutely not. I feel like anyone that says that has never had a successful membership, because the more members you get, the more work it is, the more support tickets you've got, the more onboarding you need to do, the more like posts there are in the group. Like, it takes a lot of work to run like a membership. So like when we're looking at like scalable business models, generally it's 3 ways. So it is like scalable products is one, like totally memberships and courses. You can sell more and spend less time, but you need an audience for that to work well. And you need to like build a team around you so you can actually like support all of those new customers that you're going to get. The other 2 ways are to actually build your team. So still deliver services or deliver products, but have a team supporting you. It could be an employed team or it could be like a freelance team. We have a team of about 20 freelancers working with us at this point that's helping us actually serve all of our customers. And it's a really good way, if you are a service-based business, to take on more clients without necessarily like the risks and the headaches of employing at first, but be able to serve more people. And then the other way is just raise your prices. Like, literally just raise your prices. If you charge double, then you can literally work half the amount of time and still make the same amount of money. Now, we're not saying like doubling your prices is necessarily good advice, but for a lot of people, you could double your prices. You could triple your prices maybe, especially if you're just starting out. If you're like a speaker, for example, you can get charged like nothing for speaking versus like 50 grand, 100 grand for speaking. Like, that's a scalable business model. Get better, charge more.
Interesting. Yeah, love it.
And then have a nice lasagna.
Have a nice lasagna.
Yeah.
Really, I think that's what like I'm just listening to you guys, and I, you know, so I built a membership called Shifties, which is a micro business membership. Blimey, it nearly killed me. You know, these grey hairs here are because of that. You know, and you know, we had a decent membership. You know, finished about 1,400 members, and you know, and I actually in the end decentralized it. We actually decentralized it to give it back to the community, because it's just, you know, it was killing me, quite frankly. But listening to you, I've got a shared passion for micro business. I love micro businesses. So I describe a micro business as not, you know, under 9 employees. So I also have an issue with the term SME because it's so broad, and I don't think micro businesses, whether it be freelance or micro teams, are very well represented when it comes to policy change, when it comes to, you know, if you're a micro business, for instance, you should be guaranteed to be paid within 7 days of invoice, you know, which is something that happens in other countries based on revenue. if you're under $1 million revenue, for instance, I think it's in Germany, you have to pay your invoice on receipt. Like, there are things that micro businesses aren't represented well enough in. So I think we've definitely got a shared love for what micro businesses can do for humans. But I see the trap. So like you, I think we've probably had good visibility over the last many years on different business plans and the under the hood of many different businesses around the UK. And just everything you just described, just snip this out and just send that to every micro business owner, because if you've got to have that. It's a hard thing with micro business, because you're humble because you're a micro business, and you've got a lifestyle business, and you want that to be part of your brand, and you want that to be part of your identity, but you also have to have that ambition to want and be more at the same time. And that's kind of how entrepreneurship helps, I think. It's as a mindset, because I do believe that. And one of our champions, Pierce Linney, who was one of episode 2, I think, of this series, I remember speaking to him at Anthropy about this, and he stood up and said to Sadiq Khan, who's obviously the mayor of London, he said, I think everyone will be an entrepreneur one day. I think everyone will be self-employed. I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think everyone should be self-employed. Everyone should do their own tax returns. Everyone should, if you think of Sam, remember when Sam Cousins is here?
Yeah.
We had a graphic designer, so you started as graphic designers, right? So one of you were a graphic designer, one of you were building websites, right? So Sam, who's a young guy who we employed last year, when he first arrived here, he said, "I'm a graphic designer." I said, "What does that mean?" He went, "Well, I do graphic design." I was like, "Why you put yourself in the box? Or does it mean you won't do animation? Why are you not exploring?" Because if you look at the path of what's the career path of a graphic design? You can go graphic designer, maybe senior graphic designer, maybe creative director, and that it just ends. Whereas if you're an entrepreneur, you can be anything, and that's a scalable thing forever. So I really relate to the stuff that you're talking about. I really relate to what you stand for as a brand, because we need more organizations in the economy that are representing micro but mighty businesses to support them. I just wanted to say I really relate to you guys on this point.
No, we totally agree. In fact, like, one of the first things we do when people join our membership, I think it's in the first training, it's definitely in the first few, we get them to like redefine like who they are. And like, rather than saying like I am a graphic designer, we'd get them to say I own a graphic design company.
Nice. So you got like that separation between the person.
I own a graphic design company. Like, when you scale this up, like, what are you going to be? If you really love graphic design, like, sure, you can like keep on doing graphic design, but like, you're not a graphic designer, especially when you run a business. Like, you are a business owner.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, whenever we do interactive workshops and we're doing intros, the rule is you can't share your job title.
No, who are you? Who are you at a human level? That's a really important point. Like, cool. And it's the same when you talk about diary earlier. Like, where you see, what I'm like. I'm trialing something at the moment actually, which is really interesting, because I like that zebra diary. I like that. Oh, right, okay, I'm like, bang, hit up a sales call, 15-minute break, bang. Like, I can't see blank space in my. Even if it's creative time, even if it's. Time with my family, it's got to be in my diary. You can plan this stuff. It's got to be. You've got to own your time. But one of the things that I often champion around this is, instead of saying, "What are you doing today?" or "What are you doing next?" asking the question, especially if you're an entrepreneur or a young entrepreneur coming in, or a young, could be, no, it doesn't mean age. You might just be year one. A year one 60-year-old entrepreneur has the same experience as a 19-year-old entrepreneur who's been in there for 1 year. Instead of asking, "What are you doing today?" ask, "Who are you today?" Am I business development for Inspire to Ignite? Yeah. Am I CEO? Am I mentor? Am I IT? Am I all the different hats that you have to wear as a micro business?
Into defined days. So, for example, you would have like Monday's like meeting and admin day, or team meeting day, and then Tuesday's content day, Wednesday's content day, Thursday's business development day, like Friday's day off, or you've got maybe like client work day, and then you've got like content development and sales day, or whatever. So we, like, how some people say like success is in like the daily habits. We think the success is in the weekly schedule. So because you can't fit everything in to a daily schedule, right? You can't do everything you need to do. You can't do all your client work, all your admin, all your sales, all your content in one day. So the idea of a daily habit for that sort of stuff doesn't work, but it needs to be a structured weekly schedule. And within that, there needs to be fixed times for things that you need to do every single week. Like you might need to have time dedicated to replying to emails, for example, right? And doing social, creating content. But then you've also got project time. And project time is when you do like things that are going to help you get more sales, save you more time, or give you more joy back in your business. And it's that needs to be broke down continuously, because people don't do that. They'll just have like launch webinar or like do SEO or whatever, you know, like pitch this. But it's not organized.
They just churn it out. They just churn their life out.
Exactly what you're doing, then you can procrastinate, because it's like, okay, now I need to like plan my sales launch, but I don't really know exactly what I'm doing for the next 3 hours. I've just put this time block in for 3 hours, what I'm actually gonna do. So the first step is to like break it down, but then you just get overwhelmed. So then you don't do anything. So then you're like, just gonna take a breather, just gonna like go on Instagram for 5 minutes or check emails just in case, and then I'll come back in 15 minutes with a bang, and then before you know it, an hour's gone. You've been watching reels, and you know, then you've just gone and done the dishes, because and then that's it basically. Game right over. That's your day gone. You know what, it's 1 o'clock now, I'm gonna go for lunch, and we'll just start again tomorrow with a fresh start. I'm gonna get on it tomorrow, and tomorrow comes, you do exactly the same thing. Like, everything needs to be broken down. If it doesn't get broken down, it doesn't get done. If you're overwhelmed, you're not overwhelmed, you're just not prioritized, and you're not scheduled.
Yeah, it's great advice, that is. That's some really good advice.
Do you know what's really funny? People give themselves a hard time over things that they can't even do. Like, because we, on our one-to-one program, we'll often like sit down with people, we'll look at the diary, we'll get them to tell us everything that they want to get done in the week, and then like what time they actually have to work. And I think especially if you are a lifestyle business, you're planning it around kids, like some people are only working like 9 till 3, and like that's a-okay if that's like the business that you want. But when we actually map out the tasks, we'll show them like, look, you are giving yourself a hard time, but you've got 5 hours worth of stuff here that you literally cannot fit in your diary based on like the time that you want to work your business around. And then you're getting overwhelmed and giving yourself a hard time and feeling like a failure because you like can't control time and space, right? So it's like you need to be like if you're not like working 9 to 5 on your business, which a lot of people aren't, like, you need to be more organized. The less time you actually have to dedicate to your business, you need to be more organized. And, like, overwhelm happens a lot. Me and Pete often get overwhelmed. We don't believe that it's overwhelm a lot of the time. We believe it's unorganized. And as soon as one person says to the other, like, mate, I'm really overwhelmed today, like, the other one has, like, permission to say, you're not overwhelmed. Like, we're just disorganized. Like, let's spend sometimes an hour, sometimes a full day. Sometimes we'll literally spend a full day, if it's like a particularly busy time, we're feeling super overwhelmed, just planning like the next month or two, just to give us that breathing space and just to give us that feeling of like, it's okay, like we can get everything done. And if we can't, if there's literally not enough time in the day to do all the tasks, then we can start prioritizing, right? And what actually do we need to do? What needs to be ditched? What can be pushed a few months down the line? And it just allows us to be creative, more creative in the creative time that we schedule.
A great way to do this is to literally map out. It's like, we've got like a 9-step process for this, but it's like brain dump all the projects and all the things that you need to do. This is like projects, not just like your daily whatever. So work that out and then break it down into like focuses and projects. Yeah, you can write it down. He's got a notepad out and everything.
Yeah, I know, but I'm gonna
like the way like we have a focus hierarchy. So at the top, it's like, what is your ultimate goal, you know? And then underneath that, we've got your focuses. So like maybe like you want to grow your audience or email marketing or like scalable products. And then underneath that, you've got like the projects that relate to those 3 key areas of focus for the next 6 months, right? And after 6 months, or you can revamp that, right? Because priorities change. But then you've got underneath those areas of focus your projects. You can brain dump just projects if you want, but it's good to have this hierarchy because then you can make sure that you focus on what's the most impactful. Because when you map out all your projects, you'll realize that some of them can wait, some of them aren't needed, some of them aren't necessary, some of them are just following the hype. Some of them you have to do them after something else has been done. So you can find what the priority is quite quickly when you do that. Once you've found out the priority of the next project, you want to break that down as much as possible. And our definition of a task is something that you can sit down and do in one go without having to think about it. As a general rule of thumb, to get you used to this and to challenge you, think about it this way. If it takes you longer than 15 minutes, it's probably not a task. It's like a little mini project that needs to be broken down. So what is the next available step? So, for example, if someone was to say to me, I need to set up a webinar, that's going to be my next project. It's going to be the biggest impact thing. Probably isn't, but let's say for this sake it is. Okay, set up a webinar. If you have a chunking of time in your diary to set up webinar, not going to work, right? You're going to be overwhelmed. Like, first of all, like you're probably going to have to research software. So you need to put in time to research software, maybe time to set up a sales demo call, or do a demo training, or maybe you'll put in time. Maybe the next task is, hey, I'm going to post in the Atomic community or the Shifties community, right? Like, what's the best webinar software? The second task is to like brainstorm the webinar topic. What's it going to be? Third task is going to be to validate that. How are you going to do that? Well, you need to write an email to your audience to say, out of these 3 topics, what would you prefer me to do a webinar on? And so can you see how all of a sudden, just by breaking it down, like all of those things are really easy. Like I can brainstorm, I can post in a group, I can send an email to validate an idea. Those are very easy tasks that you can do in probably 15 minutes. But as a whole, it would have been overwhelming. And once you break it down like that as well, it also becomes more realistic how much time you're going to spend on it. And therefore, you can decide whether it's a good idea or not to do. Because if you're like, this webinar is going to take me like 7 hours, is that going to provide me the return for that 7 hours worth of my time? Or would I be better off spending 7 hours connecting with people on LinkedIn, starting a conversation, trying to get them onto a sales call, and ultimately closing the deal?
Nice.
Great advice. Really good advice.
So actually, by investing probably half an hour to an hour of time reflecting on what you're and unpacking it, you might save yourself money, but 2 loads of time down the line as well.
So I put my hand up as a previous life Prince to practitioner, project manager before I was an entrepreneur. So, my project manager hat comes out every now and again, required to, because also, as you know what I'm like, I have a conflict between creative and project management. So in my own brain, so I have to put the different hats on for planning. We do this all the time. I'm like, Sam, stop. We're going to go and spend like half a day on 3-year vision and work our way back down. Now,
it's a real skill, and I am rubbish at it. I'm going to hold my hands up.
But that's the dynamic between the two of you, no? Is that? I mean, it sounds like. I mean, that's something that I wanted to ask because I'm just conscious of the time, and I know we wanted to talk about the future and the conference as well. But I think whilst we've got a duo here and a duo there, I think there is something about. I think we all appreciate and love community and network and the power of that. The fact that we're all talking today is a testament to that. And I don't think there's much more to say on that. But what is the benefit of having wingman in
funny,
this process
one,
of
right?
entrepreneurship.
At the start, it's
being
not
woman, yeah.
the biggest benefit because you don't do things separately, you do things together anyway. So you don't have twice as much time, but you do have twice as much of the wages to pay. So, like, essentially, in half the amount of time, you need to create, like, twice as much money, which most people don't realize. So that was always a challenge for us, but as we've kind of developed as our duo, we've become a lot more adept about what each person can do separately and what we need to do together. The benefits are 100% accountability and creativity and different skill sets because, for example, Andrew is like big picture pie in the sky thinker. The minutiae of like how you get there, not Andrew at all. That's not his forte. For me, that's what I'm obsessed with. I'm obsessed with like the steps, the process, like how do we exactly get there? Like I need to know all that before I can get on board with an idea, which we've had to like work on because sometimes Andrew will pitch an idea and I'm like, I don't get it. And I need to know the details before I get it. But the creative, like if you don't have someone, I'm not necessarily recommending that you go and get a business partner. I think it works for some people, not for others. However, definitely having people around you that are also ambitious really, 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 really helps. Like just having some people to like brainstorm with, ask ideas with. I've got this idea and someone says, well, what about that? And you're like, holy crap, yes. Like if I'd have actually gone ahead and done that, I would have been stupid, right? I'd have just not seen this thing. And on the flip side, it's like, you get two types of people, those that overthink stuff and those that don't think enough about stuff. And you need both almost to progress. The best entrepreneurs in the world are the ones that make fast decisions confidently. However, it also needs to be a considered choice. So that's something to think about.
That's really good advice. I think that's really good advice. Yeah. Good lessons from that. So future. So let's talk about the conference, which we're really excited to come to. And I wanted to come. I think there was one in the pandemic that I couldn't make, or I think it was an online one that Lenka told me about, and I've got a lot of FOMO from these things. So I'm really excited to come up to the conference as well with Sam and some of our curious entrepreneurs, which again we're very grateful for your support in supporting them do so. Can you tell us about this conference and what can people expect? And
Atomicon is
why
like
did you even set it up in the first place?
For the UK. So it's like awesome. It's going to be the best thing ever. Best thing since sliced bread in the UK, right? People from all over the world come to Atomicon.
Love that.
The conference is here so that you can discover the world's best sales and scaling strategies to grow your business, so you can get an avalanche of sales, so you can grow without the kind of headache of growth pains. And it's here specifically for small business owners and marketers. And we've got in some of like the world's leading experts, speakers to come and blow everyone away. It's happening June the 13th in Newcastle upon Tyne in the north. It's going to be banging. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's a really fun event as well. It's not like a boring stuffy event. It's almost like a little mini festival. And it's going to be really, really cool. And I really hope a lot of people listening can make it and get to hang out with you guys and us. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Andrew, what have I missed?
Yeah, no doubt.
I've missed some stuff there.
No, can I ask you, before you add to it, do you still I still remember the leotard video that was going around. Was it for years before? I can't remember.
Oh, that was no, there was a leotard in this video as well, actually.
Oh, is it? You have seen it, the leotard video.
It's pink, isn't it?
Yeah, the pink one.
I'm pretty sure. I've definitely seen the video.
Dude in a leotard.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, there was a pink one. He was in a pink leotard in the Atomicon promo, and then we did it online
I remember these things.
Yeah, no, I feel like that video like summed up the vibe of Atomicon. It's like expect the unexpected. Like our kind of ethos is if you're bored, you're not going to learn and you're not going to like implement anything. You're just going to switch off. So we don't want you to be bored. We don't want you to be tired. There's going to be like a lot of takeaways. There's going to be a lot of light bulb moments. But like we also want you to have fun. So we have like fun things to do whilst you're at the conference. We have 2 big networking parties, a pre-party and an after-party, to like continue the mingling. It's a really just, we go full out on experience. And we found like a lot of the conferences in the UK really didn't value like putting on a great experience. So that's why, to go back to the question of why we launched it, it's like that was it. Like we wanted to create like,
for example,
that like everyone talks
when we
about
were first getting going, we spent like the first 5 years in our business doing like got all sorts of, like we just did all the mistakes, like everything you could possibly do, we did it all, and we weren't making a lot of money. And we saw this event in America and we were like, oh, I really, really want to go to that, but like we couldn't afford to go. So anyway, I stayed up all night, and in the morning I came back to Andrew and was like, right, I was really tired. And I was like, right, we're going to go to this event in America. It costs like thousands of dollars to get there. The ticket's like thousands of dollars. But like, this is how we're going to do it. This is how we're going to afford it, right? And we spent everything we could to go to this event. And we just learned like what the successful people were doing. And it just blew us away because we would have wasted the next decade trying to figure it out. And so, like, literally, the years after that, like, that's when Andrew and Pete arrived. That's when, like, everything happened. That's when we were writing books, getting speaking gigs. We're getting paid to speak around the world. Like, we're getting known as, like, the best digital marketers and the top 100 this and the best that. And that's when we started to make a load of money, scale the business. And it's because we'd went to an event like that, and we want the same thing for other people. We want our version of that event to do it even better. So we know the reason why we're passionate about it is because we know the impact it can have. It's had the impact on us, and it's had the impact on thousands of people that have come to the event. It's there to just get them inspired, fired up, give them the actionable strategies, the encouragement, the support, and the connections to actually go and do the things that they need to do to grow the business the smart way.
So like someone's like ignited Pete. It's like
let's go. So social mobility, social capital, and it's something that, you know, from a curious entrepreneur's point of view, it's something we talk about a lot. Obviously, the people that we will be bringing along to the conference need social mobility and social capital. You know, so again, alluding back to the conversation with Pierce about one of the challenges that a lot of people have coming into business, they don't have that social capital. Being in the room is so important. It's so important. Yes. It's everything. Mm-hmm. If you've got that network, you've seen it in the last year. Being in that room, having that conversation with that person can just bypass you all the way through to the organization, to the decision makers, get the things you need, get the aspirations you need, and go. Well, I can't wait. I think it's going to be fantastic.
Well, the most important thing is also the belief in yourself as well when you get the opportunity. And the young people, they're going to love it as well.
Yeah,
they're going to love the
what you just said there, like last thing we'll say maybe is the expectation. It's like the be all and end all of your business. Where do you expect yourself to be? Because here's something we'll say to entrepreneurs all the time. How much money do you expect to make this month? And when they tell us, we'll go, okay, well, you're probably right. And that to them is mind-blowing, right? Because what if your expectation was just a bit higher? Well, then your actions and your decisions and your creativity and your time would be focused on making it higher because you expect it to be higher. So if you don't expect to be a success, then you're not going to be a success. If you expect to continuously grow and get there and make X amount of money or have X amount of freedom or impact X amount of people, like you will get there because your actions will align to it. Like your expectation is everything. And when people come to Atomicon, we want to help them increase that expectation. We want to increase their self-confidence, self-belief, and their support to help them follow through with it as well. Yeah. So that's really important.
Nice. Love that. Nice, man. Well, I'm going to close it off with one question. So if you had the opportunity to speak to your 21-year-old self for 30 seconds,
I would say
with what you know now, what would you say to them?
Yeah, I was going to say a swear word there. Like, create a lot of content. Create a lot of content.
You're on the Curious Entrepreneur podcast.
Get better each day at it. Don't be afraid. Raise your prices. Yeah. I think that would be about it.
I would say get out of like your local mindset. Like we were very much for the first few years very local with what we were doing. Like we were, and we, to be fair, we did it well. Like we became known locally, but like we were, I think we were fenced in without even realizing it. Like, and I don't think that's maybe as much of a thing now. Like when we started in 2021, it's like, yes, there was like the internet and like all the social networks, like the main ones were there. It wasn't like super popular back in that point, but like to 21-year-old me, I would have said like look further than like where you are currently at. And like Pete had to convince me like going to the States was an option. Like it took him like a pitch. It took him all night in a pitch to me. It's like I would have slapped my 21-year-old self and said just like take it earlier.
That's great. I love that. Well, we really appreciate you guys, and thank you again for being champions and supporting the work we're doing as a CIC. And we're looking forward to getting more involved in what you guys are doing. Yeah. Where can people find you? What's your 90%? What's the main place where people can find you online?
Our main place is our Instagram. So if you go to @AndrewandPete, please feel free to drop us a DM. If you've listened to this and watched it, you'll get a personal reply from me or Pete. Our website is www.atomic.site. You can find all the information there about our membership, about our conference. You can subscribe to our emails. We send weekly emails to our list as well. So yeah, we'd love to connect with you guys that have listened along.
Perfect. And we'll whack all the links in the description to the podcast as well. So thank you so much, guys, for your time. Thank you for listening. And obviously, if you've enjoyed this episode of the podcast, please leave us a review. It makes a massive difference to let other young entrepreneurs, people interested in self-development and business know about
everybody.
it.
Thanks for listening.
For now,
hope it helps.
See you next time.
Thank you.